guys, it's Kimberly from the Fat Quarter Shop, and I have Cecile from Just Another Button Company, and she is going to show us the amazing process of making clay buttons. So you're going to see some amazing things about like how this becomes this, becomes this, becomes this. It's really, really amazing. So she's going to walk us through it, and y'all are going to be just as amazed as I am.
Hi, I'm Cecile from Just Another Button Company, and I've been invited to the Fat Quarter Shop to show you how we make polymer clay buttons. So today I chose that we would make Ribbit. Ribbit is a frog. We have, between frogs and toads, we have 3 or 4 different styles, so they have to have names now. So Ribbit comes in a large size, it comes in a small size, and you can also find Ribbit on the end of a pin to decorate a pincushion. We start with polymer clay. I like the Cernit brand because when it's baked, it is not brittle. It's made from a petroleum product, so it's an uncured plastic in the package like this, and we open it with a blade, take it out, and mix the colors together to get the custom colors that we need for this. It takes several shades, so there's a whole step involved in cutting, measuring, and mixing, but when it comes to me, it's already measured out and labeled with the part of Ribbit that I'm going to use to make it. The other tools I'm going to use are these blades, tissue blades for slicing, a roller for making flat sheets. The pasta machine does the same thing. These little tools here are handy. My needle tool, my plastic sculpting tool, and a skewer. At the end, I'm going to need drill bits for my Dremel tool to make the holes for the button. The first thing we do when we're designing a new button is break it down into the components, because you're going to make each section separately and then put them all together at the end. On the Ribbit, I'm going to make the head, the tummy, the legs, and the feet, and the eyes, all in separate steps. But when I say I'm going to make the legs, I really mean I'm going to make one leg, because I'm going to actually pull it out and cut it into pieces and then flip it around and put it together. And the same with the eyes, just make one eye and cut it into pieces to assemble on top. These pieces show how it normally would come to me, already shaded like this. But I want to start by showing you how to do the shading. This is a piece that's been baked so that I can travel with it, that shows you how the tummy on the Ribbit is actually 3 colors of clay. One in the center, a slightly darker one around, and then the darkest shade is around the outside. And then when the Ribbit gets down smaller, it looks like the colors are shaded rather than stacked in layers like that. This is the light. When it comes to me, it's usually rolled like this, what you would call, if you were doing this in preschool, making a snake. It's a cylinder. So what I'm looking at here is the top part. This part right here, the side, we're not going to see as we are assembling the cane. We're only going to look at the top. So to that, I'm going to add a layer of medium clay. I have everything labeled here so that I don't lose my spot. And the person who makes the clay for me, mixes it, has already rolled it out to wrap around here, but I'm going to show you this handy tool that we use. This is my handy dandy pasta machine. I can use the roller here, or the dial, to set the width. Roll the clay through, and I have a nice smooth flat sheet, which is great for shading because I can wrap it around and get an even layer. Okay, this amount of clay right here is not going to go all the way around, so I know that I need to make it thinner. So I'm going to roll it first at a 1, and then I'm going to roll it at a 3. Okay, so I know that'll go all the way around, but I know from experience the best way to get it to go around evenly is to roll it at a 5. All right, now I have a thin layer of the medium clay. I don't care that the edges are a little bit raggy. The light on top. Now remember, I told you that we're not going to look at the side, we're only looking at the top. So we have the light in the center and the medium around it like this. This is pretty large because I'm working with a half a batch of clay here, because I showed you that this half right here is already assembled. That's just in case I make a mistake as we're going along. That's my backup. Okay, so we know now from looking at the sample that we need a third color, a darker shade, to go around the outside. This isn't going to go all the way around like that, so it's already rolled to a 1. I'm going to go ahead and roll it to a 5. It's a nice thin layer. This clay has already been mixed for me using green and yellow and white and probably a little bit of a brown shade. We have recipe cards that tell us how to mix the colors ahead of time, so we have a good consistency. Okay, so now I have a cylinder All you see on the outside right there is the dark, so I'm not going to pay any attention to that. All I know is I want to work with what the top looks like, and I need it to look like the tummy on the frog. And you can see that this is not round and this is, so I'm going to fix that. So right now I'm using my main tool, or all 10 of them. I need to shape the bottom of it to come down to a rounded point, and the top, the head, needs to fit down inside that. So I need a little depression right there, so you can see that I'm closer right there to the shape of the tummy on the rivet. When I'm working, I don't have a paper pattern. I usually just take my favorite button from the last batch or from the best batch that I've ever made. Sometimes it turns out better the second time, and so then I'll save one of those buttons too. Because these are made by hand, they're different every time. The most fun part is seeing if you can make it better than you did the last time. So there's the frog's tummy right there. So the next thing that we're going to make is the head. So you can see that the head and the legs are the same color and they have the same shading inside it. Now I'm not talking about the little feet, just the head and the two upper parts of the legs. I have a lighter color and then two colors to shade it with. So this is a repeat of what we did before. Something a little bit different here. Before I add this dark shade to it, I'm going to reduce the size of it. When I say reduce the size, I mean I want it to be smaller in diameter and a little longer. I want to cut it into two pieces. I'm going to save a third of it to make the legs and 2/3 of it to make the head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 will work. So I'm going to use my tissue blade. So I'm going to cut off a third of this. That's the legs. That's the head. Okay, with the legs. Okay. Okay, so if this is the head, then I know the shape of this needs to be sort of an ellipse with a little bit of a point on it. So I'm not worried about what's on the side here. I just worried about what the shape is on the end. And I know that the head has to fit inside the tummy like that. So that goes right there. But we're not quite ready to do that step yet. So now we have the tummy, the head, the legs, and now the little guy needs feet. This is a teardrop shape, smaller amount of clay. It's a repeat shape on both sides, so I'm really only making one. So kind of a skinny foot. Only look at the end because that's the shape that you want. But I haven't touched it for the last time, so that's close enough. I like to make all of my shapes first. Here, I should put that up on end. That's the leg. The leg and the foot. And then we're ready to start putting the things together. So to put together the leg and the foot, I need one tiny little bit of dark shading right there so you can see how the ribbit looks like his legs are bent. So I need a little bit of a shadow. So I'm going to need a skinny piece of clay to make a shadow, same length as that cane. A good size, and then I'm going to roll it through here. Number 5 setting is my favorite for making shadows, but I know that that's going to be too thin for what I'm doing. I'll make it just a little bit thicker, which makes the whole shape a little bit smaller. Picked up my blade again. I'm trimming off the rounded edges. You know what I haven't done yet with this leg is it's still round. The leg is not. It's also a teardrop shape. I'm looking at the end to see what shape it's turning out. Some of the shapes we make are pretty complicated, but ribbit comes out looking pretty darn cool just with a series of simple shapes, so it's a great one for doing a demonstration. You can't see any shading there. That's because as you're working with this clay, whatever's on the outside kind of tends to slide toward the end. So now I have to go back and I can see a little bit of that lighter shading in there. This one, the shading is kind of subtle. And that looks like the leg. So how does this fit on there now? It looks like it's about the right length that direction, but it's too short. I put it in the pasta machine this way. I'm looking at this to see where to place it. I'm just going to tug on it a little bit with my fingers. This is definitely an art, not a science. There is the shadow wrapped around there. And now the foot needs to go on there right here. Well, this clay is already measured out the volume of it so that I know that this is the right size foot. And we do that from experience. Foot and leg. You can see how that looks similar to the sample. But I only have one. So what do? I'm going to reduce the size of the cane's diameter by pulling on it. This is an uncured plastic, so it stretches. All the shading is going to stretch on the inside too. The tricky part is to make the middle look like the ends. That's looking pretty good, except you can see that it's a little bit larger on this end than it is on that end. But when I look at it, I see that it's a little bit skinny there, so even that out. But in general, I'm happy with it. I want a little bit more definition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I cut it at 3.5, I have 2 legs. They don't fit the body, but I'm not worried about that yet. So let's put together the head and the tummy. The clay is sticky, so the different parts cling to each other. The trick is when you put the 2 parts together, they need to already be the same shape. If I just tried to put a round head on top of there, it would distort the shape of the tummy. So I need to make the head the right sort of shape before I put it on there. And I need to make sure that I'm not catching any air between the 2 layers. I match up one end and then I sort of fold it in like that, pushing the air out as I go. Rock it a little bit to smooth it out. Okay, kind of messy, right? But you already know what you do. There is the rivet. Okay, and then the next step, you can see that there's a dark green layer that goes all the way around it. One more piece of clay here. And I want to put through the pasta machine. Now when I have a larger piece of clay like that, if I tried to put it through the pasta machine like this, it would end up in a pile of crumbles down underneath the machine. So I use my acrylic roller, make it into kind of a thick sheet first. Roll it through on a 1 first. That helps avoid the crumbles. Is it going to go all the way around that? Nope, too short. So I'm going to roll it through on a 2. The clay is smoother if it's rolled more than once anyway, so make it just a little bit thinner, which makes it a little bit longer, so it should go around nice and neatly. Now I want one even layer to go all the way around it, so I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to lay the edge down, and then I'm going to roll this piece right here. Trimmed it off neatly at the bottom. Now I have one even layer wrapped around there, kind of messy on the end. Cut it back to where I can see what I'm doing. A little bit of air there, but I think that's because it's at the end of the cane. See what we've got going so far. That looks pretty good. So now we have body and 2 legs. So Rivet is missing one element. He needs eyes. So I have some black clay and some white clay. And the trick with that is to make sure that you warm it up well, because when it's warm, it's sticky, and you want those eyes to stick on top of Rivet. And when you reduce the size, you want the eyes to stretch at the same rate as the rivet does. Someday, if you purchase a rivet and it has rather large eyes, you know that I didn't warm up my black clay enough that day. I'm going to have way more eye than I think, but that's okay. And then I have to warm up the white, and I want to wrap an even layer around the black. Squeeze it out here till it's about the width of my pasta machine, and roll it on a 1, which is the thickest layer. That's the easiest one to manage on a small piece. Put that on there, and then I'm going to cut this off straight, roll that right to the edge, up and over. My eyeballing on my eyeball was off, but I don't want to pull on it. I want it to still be the same width all the way across. Now I need a piece to patch that opening right there. I'll just roll it through one more time. Yep, that's going to work. That streak of black on there isn't going to matter because I'm going to put it down against the black anyway. And I'm going to just patch that little hole there. So I'm making kind of a skinny eye. There's 2 eyes. I want them to look alike, so I'm only making 1, and I need to cut it in half. Oh, looks like an eye. All right, now if I put that on there that size, that's going to be a little overwhelming, so I think I want it smaller in diameter than that. I need 6 inches of eye. I have way more than that, so that's good. Sometimes the ends are a little bit different, so if I have plenty, I'll use 6 inches in the center. Let's see if that's not about the right size. I like that size right there. So we have all the parts for the rivet right now. So I can stick them all together when it's 3 inches long, but I know from experience that I have better results if there's enough for me to hold on to down here, because the part that I hold on to sometimes gets distorted. You can't help it because you kind of have to put some pressure on there. If you're working with a really big cane, it's even better to have more than 6 inches. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now each of the legs has to be the same length. I know that I want the foot to sit flat. So if I reduce like this, that foot's going to be sticking up in the air. Make this to be the right length. 1 rivet leg. It's stuck together right there. After it gets to a certain point, you can't unstick it, but right now we should be able to. It's warm in Texas, so the clay is a little bit sticky. In the wintertime, it can be hard as a rock, and that makes it really difficult to make a nice shape. With this in the right position, I'm going to put a leg and a foot against there, and then I'm going to put the other leg and foot. Oops, I did it backwards. Pull it off quick. When I looked at the end, I could see I'm not really using the good part of the cane. That's important. So I took off the junky part at the end. Leg and foot. Leg and foot. There's one on there. I'm putting it on there, starting at the bottom and kind of rolling up the side because I don't want to get air underneath it. So now he can sit up. Just in case I've changed the shape of that, do I still like the eyes like that on top? I think that the eyes are a little bit overwhelming there. I'm going to make them a little bit smaller in diameter. Not too much. Okay, want them to match. Okay, so how does that look? Yep, I like that. I tend to like the ribbit with the bigger eyes anyway. Before I stick them on there, well, oopsie, I don't like where those are positioned. And they're still too big. So you can see why we say this is an art. There's no way that you can measure this ahead of time, because even if you used exactly the same amount of white clay and black clay to make the eyeballs the next time, depending on how hard or soft the green clay is, this piece right here is going to be a different size than it was the last time. So you still have to be able to look at your piece when you're adding those details. So I like the way he looks. So I'm just gonna, I don't want to push hard, because if I do, I'm going to mash the ribbit and the eyes. But I want to make sure that it's really stuck on there well. That's way too big for a button. This clay is really soft. Okay, now I have to stretch it. So now I want a button-sized piece. All right, so this is where it comes in handy to have that button from the last batch sitting there. If I put that right up against there, I can tell at height. But the only way to see it for sure, okay, are you ready? It worked. We have a ribbit. He's a little bit skinnier than the last batch, but he looks like a ribbit. Then I would cut this into pieces about 3 or 4 inches long, and we throw them in the freezer to make them nice and stiff, because when we take them out, we're going to slice them. But what if I've been told that we need small ribbits too? If I take that very same cane and pull it, now I have small ribbits. So after it's frozen, this is going to distort it a little bit because it's not frozen. Then I'm going to take my blade, every slice. It's baked in a toaster oven. We use the Dremel tool to drill the holes in it. Unless we want a pin, but if we're making a pin, we use this exact same cane, drill the hole right there, and you have a just pin. Oops, I lost an eye. Not every slice makes it as a button. You don't always graduate. All of our buttons are sliced like this by hand. So you can see why a very long time ago when I made those first buttons, I looked for a place to sell them, because you don't just end up with one button. You have rows and rows and rows of ribbits. So because this one is warm, he's a little crooked. That's why we freeze them first. And that's how you make a ribbit.